On this week's show, we talk about Triple H's beatdown on Dana Bryan and the big change in their WrestleMania match, Ziggler, Miz, and Ryder possibly forming a stable, the Shield turning face, Bray Wyatt's incredible opportunity at WrestleMania, and a lot more on this week's edition of Byte That. Hello everybody and welcome to the 30th episode of Byte That, the somewhat maybe international professional wrestling podcast where we talk about the ups and downs of that which we love, which is the world of professional wrestling. My name is Juan Velascourt. I come all the way from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and as always I am joined first, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, by Ryan McNulty.
What's going on, Juan? Hey, episode 30. Let's be proud of ourselves. We've made it this far, huh?
Exactly, man. So next week we beat out WrestleMania. And I'm also proud of this guy. He is the lost Jedi. He is the self-proclaimed savior of nobody. I'm talking about Keith Poshik.
Byte That, bigger than WrestleMania. Confirmed.
But not the Raw after Mania.
And hey, before we go on any further, remember you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. This is where we have video reviews, full-length podcast, YouTube exclusives. We have our WrestleMania overload going on right now. We have part 1 of our top 10 WrestleMania moments. Part 2 will be up this week. We'll be talking about Total Divas, past WrestleManias, and a lot more. Also, check out our Twitter account at ByteThatCast. We tweet during Raw and other wrestling-related events, so check that out. Our podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher by searching Byte That, and for everything else, head over to ByteThat.com. That being said, if last time we saw the birth of the Yes Chance, we have to see what's going to happen, but we are just coming off Monday Night Raw. A lot of things happened. We have more entrants into the 30-man Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. We got a bigger, better picture of Naomi's transformation into Sagat and being incorporated into Street Fighter itself. And another thing we also got is a much bigger sort of picture regarding what's happening between Dana Bryan and Triple H. I'm just completely ignoring that. Wait, I'm just, okay, I gotta just do a little quick pause here. Was I the only one that thought Naomi looked freaking badass with that eye patch, and even after she heals, she should keep that? That looked amazing.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, you just blew my goddamn mind with that Sagat reference. I never even considered that. The pirate thing I was kinda going with, but Sagat, no. If she starts doing like a Cesaro uppercut and starts yelling Tiger, my life will be over. It'll be complete. I can just ascend to the heavens a happy man.
You know, I'd say she looked like the villain from the movie Waterworld, but then again, nobody saw the movie Waterworld. But, definitely, it's a cool look. She definitely looks like a villain, so you almost gotta turn her heel with the friggin' eye patch. It's either that or a pirate gimmick.
Well, hopefully the eye patch will make Total Divas actually fall within the top 100 television shows.
Oh my god, guys. I just realized. Maybe we'll finally know what's at the end of Paul Burchill's treasure map. Through Naomi.
Well, Naomi does have the booty, yar! And that's my terrible pirate impression. But getting down to a little bit more serious things, we did get a much bigger, brighter picture of everything happening between Triple H and Dana Bryan. So yeah, they are facing off against each other at WrestleMania. But at the beginning of Raw, we saw a promo between Randy Orton and Batista that included Triple H. And the conclusion of that was kind of interesting. I just want to get your immediate thoughts regarding the fact that effective Raw, the winner of the Triple H and Dana Bryan match is going to be added to the triple threat match. So it's going to be a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but it could be either Triple H or Dana Bryan.
I definitely think this was a necessary step to happen. I do like that we are now guaranteed a triple threat match for the main event no matter what. I think even though it's particularly obvious that Bryan is most likely going to be the guy who is moving into that main event spot, I think to give people confidence in the title match no matter what, that there's going to be a triple threat, that this was a good move, because I really don't think Randy Orton, Batista, even just the possibility of that match happening, is a good way to sell tickets or subscribers or pay-per-view buys, what have you.
I think you said it exactly right when you said necessity. It seemed weird that there was no, it was so one-sided with just Daniel Bryan going into the main event. Now there's like this thing in the back of our heads like, oh god, Triple H might actually win that match. What if he does go into the main event and walk out of WrestleMania with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, just like on the Scooby-Doo DVD title? Maybe that's some sort of prophecy that's been trying to warn us all along. You don't know.
No, but it really was necessary because even though, as Ryan mentioned, Dana Bryan's probably going to get the win still, but the fact of the matter is that a large percentage of the crowd is kids, and maybe the kids, for them it won't be as obvious. It'll be big bad Triple H. He's going to take the spotlight away from Dana Bryan, and plus it's a really good way to feed the ego, because the problem, at least for me with the feud, is that Triple H is still an authority figure. I mean, no pun intended. But by him adding himself into that stipulation, it brings back the egotistical Triple H that, even though a lot of people hate it back in the Evolution era, it makes perfect sense now, because it's sort of that wrestling spark coming back to him. When we have the guy that's scorching hot, Dana Bryan, we don't want him to be taken down, but then we have this Triple H stipulation.
Mm-hmm. And while Raw was going on, I was on our Twitter, as I tend to do, and I noticed that more than one person was saying, like, yeah, if Triple H walks out of WrestleMania with the title, they would be completely okay with that. I didn't realize that exists, but I guess that's a thing. But is that something that you guys would be okay with?
That is a good question, and I think... No, I would not be okay with it. I was almost leaning towards it because it's not his time to be in the spotlight anymore. He doesn't need the title anymore. If they want to do something with Batista, maybe, but I don't know. I'm really unsure on that. I really think just give it to Bryan. This is his time. Just give it to him.
See, this is the part where I don't know if we are the majority of the crowd, even though there's a lot of fan interaction, a lot of yes shirts. I don't know what the ratings are like now. I tend to not really pay too much attention to them, but some of them, maybe Dana Bryan isn't the guy that the casual audience likes. And when they look at Triple H, you see a familiar face. They think back Attitude Era and all that. Randy Orton and Batista are in another era. So maybe it's that safety zone where it's the champion for the old school wrestling fans.
Think about how long Triple H has been out of a wrestling role at this point. Like, there might be a larger than we realize section of the fan base who just has never seen Triple H as champion, because it's been years at this point. So maybe, I don't know. It's weird.
I still think he's established enough that people know his history, and even, I was reading some article on the website Grantland, and the guy was talking about his kids who watch wrestling and how the network has affected them and everything. And he also mentioned that his kid, who was, 10 years old, actually knew who Hulk Hogan was because he would go jump on YouTube and watch all of his old stuff. So kids have that now where they can kind of go back and watch old footage and sort of know what's going on, or know at least, they got Wikipedia too. They can see all the history. So I think people are smarter than you think, and it might know more history than you would actually believe they do. Exactly.
I think a lot of times we underestimate fans, because think about us. When we started watching wrestling, while we were talking amongst ourselves, YouTube wasn't a thing. We'd have put file, we'd have to go deep down into forums and get 50 posts so you get access to the video section. So for us, watching old school stuff was really hard, because unless you had a VHS tape or something. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, not that video section, Keith, the other one, god damn it.
Okay.
But it was difficult. Now it's a matter of, hey, I don't know who the hell Sean Morley was. Oh wait, that was Val Venus. All I had to do was search on YouTube. So it's really accessible in the same way that we've sort of gone back with the network and all that. I mean, what's that to say that maybe some kid doesn't do the exact same thing? And another thing that I want to sort of bring up is that, as much as I don't really want this to happen, one of the big things in the Attitude Era, we forget Vince McMahon was champion at one point. Vince McMahon won the Rumble, and he was the authority figure back then when he was feuding against Stone Cold. So what's not to say that we'll see a little bit of deja vu in that, because clearly as we saw on Raw, and as we'll get to a little bit later on, the conclusion of Raw, Triple H is an incredible heat magnet, more so than almost any other guy on the current roster.
Oh, totally. And, like, I know we like to think about WrestleMania being, like, the happy-go-lucky, the good guy wins big moment thing, but that always hasn't been the case. Like, think about WrestleMania 17, where that was when Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel. So what if this doesn't end with a happy ending? Triple H wins, and just think about the nuclear heat that would be on him. It's honestly seeming better than Bryan winning the title.
But you gotta think, with Triple H winning the title at WrestleMania, that also means that Bryan lost to Triple H in their match earlier on in the night. So do you really want to build... Is that really the slow burn way? At least, doesn't Bryan have to get halfway there and then maybe Triple H screws him over or something? I feel like if he loses that first match, it's just gonna suck the life out of WrestleMania.
Does he, though? Because remember, Triple H is the authority. He can technically change matches as he wants. What if, instead of a triple threat, it becomes a fatal four-way that Triple H inserts himself into?
You're getting really convoluted at that point, though.
Yeah, I see absolutely no chance that Daniel Bryan's going to lose the match. I think it's the what-if scenario. The fact that we've spent the last couple of minutes contemplating, hey, what would happen? I think that this is more of an overshadowing of what will happen after WrestleMania, because obviously I can't help but think, and we'll save this for another moment in particular, but Vince McMahon at some point has to show up. Maybe not for WrestleMania, but certainly the seeds are being planted. We're seeing Stephanie increasingly become more of the owner role. Triple H is losing control. I honestly thought that at the end of Raw, which once again we'll talk about soon, Vince McMahon was going to come out. So I think that this is just a what-if scenario. Their testing ground, their proving ground to see if a Triple H, Daniel Bryan feud for the championship, as weird as they may seem, could be in store after WrestleMania.
I agree. I think it's building to that at some point. I also see the potential for a feud with Batista. Obviously, he's ran his course with Randy Orton, and I really honestly would think that Bryan versus Batista at SummerSlam is probably the direction they're going to go, because I think they would, if Bryan doesn't win the belt, then Batista's winning the belt, and I could see them wanting the belt on Batista because of his Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy movie and promotional stuff and whatnot.
So you're telling me that Batista is going to be around till SummerSlam?
He's got a 2-year contract, dude.
Oh. Well, that sucks.
I think a lot of people don't realize Batista's here for the long run. I think we're used to, like, around WrestleMania time, we get the temporary guy, then the night after WrestleMania, he's gone. He's staying, so it's unlikely to see a heel feud continue between Randy and Batista, because we know they took a shots at each other during Raw, but I don't think that's going to be a possibility. So the fact of the matter is, we either see Daniel Bryan, Triple H post-WrestleMania, or Batista, Daniel Bryan WrestleMania, past WrestleMania, because otherwise then why is Batista here? There's nothing else for him to really do, and it's even more interesting because where would that leave Randy? So there are a lot of questions that will need to get answered after Mania. Now, I've made reference to multiple times, and I think that we need to talk about this immediately, that being the end of Raw. To me, it was incredible. I think that if at any point I wasn't sold on WrestleMania, I think Triple H did the most incredible job as a heel in recent history, and I'm personally really looking forward to that match at this point, and I thought that was a brutal segment, so I wanted to sort of get your guys' opinion on it.
How you said the word brutal. How exactly was it brutal? Just because of Triple H's beatdown?
Well, yeah, because keep in mind where we're at. This isn't Triple H the wrestler. You know, we've seen Triple H do way worse stuff in the past, but he was the game. Now he's the COO of the company. We're not used to seeing him in this light. So seeing in the main event, you know, Stephanie McMahon bitch slapping Daniel Bryan while he's saying you hit like a girl. It was the combination of everything, and I loved it because it's not common to see the higher up people now get involved in the way that Stephanie and Triple H did.
No, I'm gonna have to agree with Juan on this one. I think it was pretty brutal. I tweeted out something relating it to the Passion of the Christ as like the Passion of the Beard or something, because they were just like beating the holy hell out of him, and they even did a pseudo head chair shot with against the ring post or whatever. I mean, I think it was pretty brutal, and he's handcuffed and he's getting tossed around onto the announce table and into the barricades. I thought it was really intense, and I think it really sold the pay-per-view, and Triple H just got a ton of heat, and Stephanie as well. On a lighter note, I just loved that moment where Triple H said to the guys, "You're not even real cops." That was that was just amazing, because everyone knows that those guys are usually just local indie wrestlers that they bring in to, have their little time in the limelight, their little 15 minutes of fame, and that was just hilarious because it's sort of something everyone understands, that they're just actors. And you could actually hear the crowd laughing about that. But not to take away from the intensity that ended Raw, because it was just crazy. And they went way over time. So they really made sure to cement that feud.
Almost 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Make that sell WrestleMania.
No, and sort of backtracking a little bit on that segment, when it first started out, we almost got that Mark Henry effect where Triple H was another character. So it was sort of like he was going behind Stephanie McMahon's back. He was applauding Dana Bryan for going through all hell and still being there. So I love that. And the fact that then, boom, we got that twist. It just made everybody hate him more. And I think that was that spark that we needed. We needed that malice. We needed like that evil part of Triple H. Not just a bad guy, but like that evil part. So what did you guys really feel about that twist?
I thought it was really well done. 'Cause Triple H does sort of have these multiple sides to him, where sometimes he's playing the baby face and stuff. So at the beginning of that segment, he was really trying to level with Daniel Bryan and actually praise him for what he's been through, while simultaneously taking a shot at CM Punk when he said something along the lines of, "I've put everything in front of you," and that other guys would just take their ball and go home. So, I think they're taking all the shots at CM Punk that they can. Who knows? I doubt he's even watching. I'm sure he wants to be as far away from wrestling as possible. But anyway, you're right. When Stephanie came out, that's sort of when we had this mood shift and things took a turn. And damn, did they take a turn. So I think it was really well done. And I think that just added to the amount of heat that Triple H ended up getting.
Like, for as much shit as we give him, I strongly believe that that's something that only Triple H could pull off. Like, that was, to steal a line from Michael Cole, that was vintage Triple H right there. Just playing to the crowd and just kind of messing with them and just turning completely on a dime, the whole cerebral assassin thing.
And I think that one thing that you mentioned, Ryan, that even though it looked obvious that it didn't hit Bryan, the fact that we got that fake chair shot to the head, I think that means a lot more than what people realize, because once again, we've seen in the past people blame the WWE for a lot of things, and in this segment we essentially got the script put on our screen. Triple H was talking almost in a way that every fan online could relate. He was throwing everything out there, things that we don't see often, like the chair shots. We saw Stephanie get involved in ways that nowadays would be really, really weird. And that chair shot, I think, coming from Triple H meant a lot, because it was like, hey, we're not afraid to almost push the boundaries, even though obviously it was still a fairly safe one. It was nice to see.
Well, not only that, but there was that small moment where Triple H basically tried to drown Daniel Bryan in that pool of water. Like, that's something that you've never really seen in wrestling before.
I think that whole drowning thing is something that would have gotten Daniel Bryan fired back in the Nexus days.
One might say.
So, little dose of irony there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think that was supposed to happen, because if you notice, the camera wasn't really perfectly placed. It almost seemed like Triple H saw that and then just went for it. And it was great because it felt organic. It felt like it was just them going, okay, where's the crowd going with us? And that's how far we'll go. And it got me so pumped up because I'm thinking to myself, if he handcuffed Dana Bryan, how far do you think their match at WrestleMania is going to go, considering that one of them is going to be in the triple threat match?
I think that's almost the point, is no matter who's coming out of that, they're going to be at a handicap in that triple threat match. So I think that's going to just keep the odds even more against Daniel Bryan. So if he actually does overcome them, then it means that much more. But at the same time, it doesn't make Bryan look bad if he doesn't win the match, because maybe he is severely beaten down before that triple threat match and is not as effective as he might want to be. So either way, you have a good story to tell that really doesn't make Bryan look bad no matter what.
So something that just popped into my little brain here is that WrestleMania doesn't have that no DQ match that it has every year. Do you think that Triple H Bryan is going to be that no DQ match?
I almost see Triple H abusing power, getting himself disqualified, then going the whole, hey, I'm the authority, I'll make it a no DQ match. Especially, I mean, look at the past couple of weeks. We've been seeing kendo sticks, we've been seeing a lot of stuff, so I think that's the match that's going to have that. So when Dana Bryan comes out all taped for the triple threat match, it makes it mean that much more. So I don't think it's going to be a no DQ match at the beginning, but it will definitely turn into one. Now, switching to some wrestling-related news, there was an interesting article a couple weeks ago about Dolph Ziggler and The Miz turning to some kind of either tag team or stable or some kind of alliance regarding them sort of having the spotlight taken away from them. And just a week after Zack Ryder's Last Resort, which, by the way, you can check out episode 2 right now. It's available. Just search Zack Ryder's Last Resort. Apparently, they're considering adding him to the stable. Now, I don't know how legitimate this report is. I don't know if it's going to happen. We haven't really seen any reference, so I don't think it's going to be for WrestleMania. But I think it's an interesting thing, because we haven't seen a stable like this since the Job Squad, like Al Snow and all that. So it'd be interesting to have like this whole disgruntled. Well, yeah, but they weren't called the Job Squad. I mean, it's 3MB. They're jobber stable. They're not there because they are jobbers.
He makes a good point.
I don't know if you get the difference.
Juan, he makes a pretty good point.
Well, yeah, they're jobbers, but they're not a jobber team per se.
Either way, we see where you're going. But I'll give my 2 cents. First of all, about this faction, I actually sent out a tweet asking people what they would call this faction, and a person actually replied with their names at IVP Videos. They said the Buried Brigade, which I thought was a pretty good idea. But hey, why not give these guys something to do? I think they all have a very similar issue that's going on right now. They're all guys who kind of got their chance, some bigger chances than others, but they all sort of had their moment and then quickly fell back down the card. So they all have a very similar gripe. And I think this would be a good opportunity for them to sort of find something new to try and get them, relevant again. Because all of them are completely irrelevant now.
In a weird way, it's almost kind of like the early Nexus, if you know what I mean. Like, they were a bunch of people that were pissed off at the WWE conditions. It was because they were a bunch of rookies. I know that aspect is different of it, but it's a bunch of people that weren't happy the way that the WWE was going, and then they wanted to change it to make it better for themselves. That's kind of how I see this going, and maybe in the same way that the early Nexus worked, this could work like that as well.
Yeah, but I think you mentioned something that was very important. With the Nexus, they were rookies. So it was guys that, with the exception of somebody like Dana Bryan or Wade Barrett that maybe got a little bit more exposure at that time, it was a bunch of guys that nobody knew about. So you didn't know what to expect. But we have The Miz, a man who has main evented WrestleMania. We have Dolph Ziggler, who almost went to a much higher level if it wasn't for his concussions. And we have Zack Ryder, everything that he did online, the U.S. Championship. So these are guys that are fairly well established. They have fairly well established characters. catchphrases, movements. So could you buy them into, I'm assuming what would be a heel stable. Could you buy them? Or am I wrong in thinking they'd be bad guys?
Well, I mean, characters can change, right? The Miz and Zack Ryder would kind of almost be the perfect the perfect people to do this, for the simple fact of they have their catchphrases, they have their nice little slogans and stuff. They can just turn it around and be like, if you don't want to woo woo woo, well, I say screw you, you.
Oh my god.
Could that be a thing?
What?
Could that be a t-shirt?
What?
Somebody make that. Barbershop window.
No.
Get to it.
No, don't. If you want to run your business into the ground. No, I think they could also work as a sort of a rebel team that's against the authority, because they're the ones holding them down, so you can go that way. And maybe this would actually be a successful way for the Miz to be a face. So there's that. It can really go either way. They can either be the disgruntled, whiny, complaining team that nobody likes, or they can be the team that's fighting back against the authority for being underappreciated and underutilized. So you've got two routes that you can choose with this. So let's hope they go with any route, though, because I want to see this happen. I want to see mainly Ziggler and Ryder back on TV, but hey, I'll take the Miz too. Why not? Throw him in there. I want to see these guys back and being relevant.
So, final question regarding this. It's the night after WrestleMania. Hypothetically, they cut a promo saying, hey, we're tired of all this. How far do you think this would go? Would it be the Shield, Bray Wyatt family type thing, where they're just trying to sort of take down top names, or where would you see them go in order to prove, hey, we're in the spotlight now?
That's a good question. Whatever it is, they have to do something big. You have to start a similar way to the Nexus. You don't want to outright copy that. I just mean a similar impact to that, which I don't know what that could be. But you got to start big. You can't just start with a promo, because nobody's going to really buy it. You got to do something to make a statement.
And at the end of the day, 3MB needs somebody to feud with. So there's always that.
On Superstars.
Or why don't we get a JTG, Yoshitatsu, and give me somebody else.
Ezekiel Jackson.
No, yeah. Or Justin Gabriel.
Where's Ezekiel? Where's he at?
Hey, remember the core?
No, okay, let's not talk about the core. Let's actually move on to this week's
Tweet of the week.
And that was a segue if I've ever heard one. That's right, it's Tweet of the Week time. And this week's Tweet of the Week, well, it's gonna channel its inner humorist, because this week's Tweet of the Week is no laughing matter. We're gonna get serious this week with Tweet of the Week. And it is brought to you by Wrestling with Subtitles at Wrestle Subtitle on Twitter. He brought up a really interesting point that I didn't really think of, and it's a bit of context that everybody needs to think of. This week's Tweet of the Week is, this is your weekly reminder that Bray Wyatt is 26 years old.
Tweet of the week.
Thank you, Keith, for an actual pretty amazing tweet of the week. And remember, folks, you can send us tweets over at Byte That Cast. And while we're watching Raw or other wrestling shows, if Keith sees something that is either funny or in this case is actually a pretty awesome topic, it could be the tweet of the week. Now, having mentioned Bray Wyatt, we need to talk about this guy. And first of all, he was Husky Harris. I'm not even gonna sort of elaborate more on that, but think about.
Just think about
exactly.
that.
He went from that to being on a poster with John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Batista, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan, and the guy is 26, you mentioned?
Yes.
Put that into perspective. Then you have on Raw, John Cena talking about the fact that he's afraid of Bray Wyatt, that, he usually has guys that care about the gold or care about winning matches, but Bray Wyatt's this whole other spectrum. So, having said that, how are you guys feeling regarding what Bray Wyatt mentioned on Raw John Cena's sort of interaction with him.
I thought he had an amazing promo. It was really cool. He was in the John Cena merchandise and just talking about, him being the hero. And then they had that brilliant video package that they played that I know Keith really enjoyed. But
got so
like
hard
you said earlier, the guy's 26 years old and he is fighting John Cena at WrestleMania 30, something CM Punk couldn't even do. So it's a pretty big deal for this guy, and it just shows that they got so much confidence in him to have him in such a spotlight.
As the weeks go by, it's seeming more and more that Bray Wyatt might actually go over on John Cena at WrestleMania. They're showing so much confidence in him that it kind of seems like a possibility.
Plus, you got to think that considering all the build-up that they've been doing with John Cena and all that, losing to John Cena at WrestleMania, even though it's by no means a bad thing to any guy, the fact that you're facing John Cena, but put yourself into Bray Wyatt's shoes. He's such a well-established character at this point that I think a loss at WrestleMania would defeat the purpose of his character. I think he absolutely has to go over, but I just love the subtlety. First of all, that video package was amazing. The fact that they didn't use generic music, and I know Keith, you could sort of elaborate a little bit more on that.
The thing that's super interesting about that, as far as I can remember, that's the first time that WWE has used Eminem in any sort of video package. That's kind of a crazy thing considering how long both of those have been around. But one point that Bray Wyatt really hit home during his promo was how terrifying a grown man looks in John Cena merchandise. It's something that's just can scare the jimmies off of anybody.
It's the armbands. It wasn't the shirt, man. It was the armbands. It was something about the green armbands. It's just terrifying. Almost as terrifying as like Cole and King in a Kmart aisle, but that's another story.
Speaking, just a quick sidetrack with Cole and King, how pathetic was that whole teaching you how to use an iPad thing when Jerry Lawler just shit all over his own iPad. But anyway, yeah, like, it's those little things that Bray Wyatt does in promos that it gets a natural reaction every single time. Like that one line that he said that John Cena can go home to his castle and his plastic girlfriend. Like, that got a legitimate, oh shit reaction from the crowd. That's amazing.
It is nice when Bray Wyatt can actually kind of get real with his promos while still being in character. Because before this feud, most of the time, he was kind of talking in these sort of nonsensical things that it was really hard to kind of put together his actual definitive message. He had a few good ones up until now, but I think the message right now is very clear. That, he's trying to take down the hero and show that he's a fraud.
I think you brought up the perfect point, which is when Bray Wyatt first came in, there was something between that transition from NXT to WWE that I hated. I could not stand the character. And it was that in NXT, it felt like he was part of that show, when on Raw, it felt like, hey, let's just take that guy on NXT and have him cut a promo on Raw. And it felt like he was talking to himself. And now he's making references to things around him. And I think that's just the perfect thing. Like the last week we heard him sing, which are some of his old character traits from NXT. So we're seeing a really well-rounded character. And the fact that the guy freaking wears a Hawaiian shirt and does everything that nowadays he should fail as a character. I will argue, and I want to take this into this forum right now. Think about it. He is almost to the equivalent of The Undertaker in the way that his gimmick should not work, but it does.
I would take that one step further and say he is the best character wrestler since The Undertaker. I mean, there's no reason, like you said, why this character should work, but it just works so well.
I think it's always about the man behind the character, and obviously Bray Wyatt puts everything he has into this character. There is no one else on the roster that you see who lives and breathes their character more than Bray Wyatt right now, except for maybe The Undertaker. But let's just talk about, full-time guys, that there's nobody else And maybe a lot of these guys just don't have a character that is good enough to really sink their teeth into, but Bray Wyatt has fully embraced this character, and it really could be the best character since The Undertaker. Time will tell, but I'd say it's off to a hell of a start.
If there's any character that I would love to sort of jump into a time machine and be a kid, just to feel how it would be to watch Bray Wyatt promo as a kid, it would be him, because now as adults, you know, we have a different perspective of wrestling. Like whenever somebody cuts a good promo, we think that's a good promo. We don't think, oh, that was awesome or something. At least for me, when it was a great match, it's like, oh, these two guys are great workers. Like you overthink that. And I would love to just be like an 8-year-old and just take all of that in, like Luke Harper's expressions, Eric Rowan actually getting paid, all that. It would just be freaking awesome.
Wow. Oh, that was a slobber knocker right there. But Bray Wyatt's kind of the perfect heel then, because looking through the eyes of that kid, if John Cena's your hero, they're building Bray Wyatt to be that nemesis. He's basically the Lex Luthor to the WWE Superman at this point. And yeah, maybe Superman isn't going to win on the biggest stage of them all. That would be amazing.
You really kind of just brought light to something that really is kind of perfect marketing wise, because I'm sure, you know, all the smarks love Bray Wyatt because he's so good at what he does. But you got to think the people that are affected the most by his actual character definitely have to be the little kids. So it makes perfect sense for him to be the primary adversary to Cena at, you know, the grandest stage of them all, or the granddaddy of them all, which we're not allowed to say anymore if you read the memo. But yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Who else is going to scare the little, you know, who else is going to scare little kids more than Bray Wyatt and have them want to see Cena beat them even more? So it really does make perfect sense that this is the feud going in, even though a lot of us, when we first heard Cena versus Bray Wyatt, were like, what the hell? That seems like so out of place. But it, you know, the stars are aligning now and it's shaping up to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think for a lot of the hate that the WWE gets, and if, by the way, you don't know where that hate is, please go to their Facebook page and just go read any comments at freaking all. It's either CM Punk, please come back, or WWE's terrible, I miss the Attitude Era. And what I want to bring up with this is that WWE has almost been more invested in these characters more than we really give them credit. Think about Bray Wyatt, think about the Wyatt family as a whole, Dean and Bryan, and another group in The Shield. The Shield, for a long while, we were in their riding their train, but then it was like, so what are they doing? We were talking, you know, are they enforcers really at this point? Who are they? But then they went right back on track. They're awesome. And now on Raw, we got another term. When we thought they were going to turn on each other, they turned on Corporate Kane. So I guess that basically means that the Shield is now face. That wasn't really what I thought was going to happen. So am I missing something, or what did you guys think?
I like that they're turning them face, because it looks like now they're sort of pulling back on breaking them up. And I think 100% of that has to do with how they performed in the Shield versus Wyatt family matches. And I think they saw the crowd reactions that they were getting when they were sort of playing that babyface role. So I think they saw money in the Shield as a babyface team. I mean, there's a lot of people who are already Shield fans. So now that they're officially turning face, I mean, I think they're just going to see how much money they can draw with that, because it seems very marketable. So I'm excited for it.
Something I just wanted to bring up, and when I was watching the Team 3D shoot, they were talking that not everybody's destined to be a singles wrestler, and even if you are, you could be a great team. And I think that the Shield isn't that problem where they are way too good as a team, and I don't think that anybody really expected that. And it's like, for me, I don't want to see them breaking up, because I know it's going to be freaking years. I'll argue it's going to be a decade before we see that great chemistry between these guys just fuel up every match. Question, have you guys seen a Shield? I'm not talking about individual guys. Have you seen a bad Shield match at any point during their entire run?
No.
Nothing comes to mind.
Their WrestleMania
Exactly.
match, I don't remember being that great, but
It wasn't bad.
they haven't had a bad match. No.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was because it was against, like, Blandy Borton, Sheamus, and The Big Show. They did the best with what they could work with there.
But exactly, their worst match is arguably a decent to more than above average match for another guy. So we're talking guys that have yet to underperform. They've yet to not get crowd reaction. The girls freaking, I mean, that's a whole nother story. Just search on Twitter The Shield or something. Damn. So it's the perfect scenario where you can't break these guys up. Like, would you want to see them break up, Keith?
No, not at all. But at the same time, a face shield just seems so weird to me. What do they do? Just go against Kane? Maybe there's two other people that join Kane, but who would those people be?
The Ascension. That is a smart rumor that the Kane will bring in the Ascension for a six-man tag match at Mania. They could bring in anybody. It could be the frickin' New Age Outlaws. Who knows? But I think that's the direction they're going for Mania. But as far as just in general, them as a face team, I think it's worth trying out. I think the fans will get behind them because, Seth Rollins, every guy has their sort of moveset that the crowd can pop for. Except for Dean Ambrose. I don't know if maybe he'll pull something out in his sort of face moveset. I don't know. But either way, you got that breakup storyline in your back pocket at all times. If they start to lose steam, you can pull that out anytime you want. But why not give them a face run before you run the breakup thing? Because once you break them up, it's over. There's no more, second reforms. Everyone knows, just look at DX in 2006. It doesn't work again. So I think they just want to get the face thing out of the way, and then you get your breakup storyline down the road.
You have such a great opportunity to just milk these guys for everything they have. And I actually hadn't read on that Ascension thing, and it would make perfect sense. They started off as a fresh tag team against moderately established guys. I mean, Ryback was there, but CM Punk and all that. So what better way than now that you have these guys established, you use them to build other guys. Guess what? It's actually young guys building young guys. So it's a win-win scenario. We get great matches. And guess what? If that match were to happen, I'd be pretty pumped for yet another WrestleMania match. I think that as we get closer to WrestleMania, I just want to get like a quick 5 to 7 words. Just something quick. Do you feel the Mania vibe within you for either the matches or something? Like, are you getting pumped with what we're seeing right now?
Fuck yeah, Sea King.
Okay, screw the rules. I have green hair. The build-up for WrestleMania 29, I think, was completely by the numbers, by the book. They didn't change anything for nobody. They had a plan, and they were sticking to that plan. They didn't give a damn what anybody thought. And I think the pay-per-view suffered for it. This year, we have seen a lot of kind of twists and turns. The only match that I think has been guaranteed like a few months out is the Cena Bray Wyatt match. And Taker and Lesnar. But obviously they've, they're like Tom Brady at the line. They're calling audibles, and they change the main event. They change the stipulation with Triple H Bryan. That was almost going to be Triple H CM Punk. So the fact that they've listened and changed the plan, I think, is making this WrestleMania shape up to be way better than last year's.
So before we end the show, I actually want to round up a couple of wrestling news that came up just before we started recording. Number one, so in 1925, WWE actually started recording this program called Legends House. So it was before wrestling even began itself, and apparently now it's actually going to be out in the WWE Network. It's launching on April 17th, exclusively on the network. From a scale of 1 to JTG actually getting a shot at the championship, how excited are you?
1.
10. I'm very excited for Legends House. It's going to be so dumb. I'm going to love it.
I have a feeling I'm very excited for the first episode, and then I won't watch any others. I think it's just that shock factor of WWE doing a gimmicked, even the Total Divas, but like a gimmick character program featuring older guys seems interesting, but I think it's a lot better on paper than it will actually be.
Have you seen that promo with, like, fucking Highlanders going over the hill and Mean Gene's like, holy shit! Like, that makes me so excited for Legends House I can't even contain myself. It's gonna be great.
Move on, Juan. Just move on.
Yeah. Okay, Keith, you can give us your Legends House report right here on Byte That. Cheap pop.
All right.
The other bit of wrestling news is that last year there were a couple of surveys in WWE.com sort of asking people what they would like to see from the WWE, like the network and all that. One of the things was a WWE fitness DVD. And based on some pictures that have been revealed online, we actually are going to get that. They've been recording at the Performance Center, Triple H, a bunch of different wrestlers. Now, considering that DDP Yoga has been pretty successful, it's interesting that WWE is doing their own fitness. So, number one, how excited are you that WWE is doing this differently? And number two, are we going to see guys in character in some sort of weird way? Or are we going to see that WWE twist? Or is it just going to be fitness by WWE?
A WWE fitness thing that's on demand where you can choose your workout, like, on demand could be one of the greatest things ever. Like, maybe they partner up with DDP Yoga to do something like that. Why not?
First of all, I wonder how John Cena feels about this after he's just launching his own little workout plan. But secondly, I think if they're going to do this WWE workout, that each superstar should have their own workout. And I think that'd be kind of awesome. Like, oh, I'm going to do, like, the Ultimate Warrior workout today. Or the...
where you snort a shit ton of coke and then go work out.
And then, and then I'm going to do the Brodus Clay workout where I just sit on my couch and eat pizza rolls. So they get different options.
Yeah,
so I think that would be really cool.
Well, the cool thing about this is that with the network, we could see like sort of bonus things about wrestlers doing their own workouts. I mean, the options are endless, so it'll be interesting. I have no interest in getting a WWE workout DVD because I don't intend to be a WWE superstar, and I already give them enough money, and that, I don't know, it just seems too much. There's too much stuff. There's Slam City, which we didn't get a chance to talk about, but check Slam City out if you have, and it's kind of like Robot Chicken, but WWE. They have a couple 2-minute episodes, so check that out and let us know.
But if you are interested in an awesome workout program, you should check out our review of DDP Yoga over at on our YouTube channel and how it worked for Juan.
And I actually got a comment from DDP himself on that video, and it's actually at ddpyoga.com in the review section. Check that out.
And we want to thank you for tuning in this week to Byte That. And remember, before you go, we still have a few things we'd like to share with you. First of all, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's youtube.com/ByteThatCast. We are in WrestleMania Overload. We are putting up all WrestleMania-related content. Last week, we just put up our part 1 of our top 10 WrestleMania moments. Part 2 is going to be going up later on this week. We're also going to very soon have Total Divas reviews and reviews of that Scooby-Doo WrestleMania movie, so plenty of stuff going on there. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ByteThatCast. We tweet during Raw, we tweet during pay-per-views, sometimes NXT, and so, maybe some Total Divas. So anyway, don't forget to search for us on iTunes and Stitcher as well. Subscribe, get the show as soon as it's up. It's right on your phone or whatever device you're using it. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week!
No, I want to bring up some interesting wrestling news. Al Snow's coming back. No, really, no. There was this report a little while ago that Dolph Ziggler and The Miz were apparently going to be... Oh, God damn it.